years ago, he had a speech impediment, so he was always interested in speech patterns. And he found that by playing music and things backwards, that he could hear messages. So he really started to experiment with this, and then I heard him about 8 or 9 years ago talking about this on the, I think it was on Art Bell, and I was fascinated by it. I just thought it just sounded so interesting, but I didn't really get involved with it until about 3 years ago, and then I found, because I do a UFO TV show, and I interview many people, that I could tell who was lying and who was telling the truth by reversing people who were speaking publicly.
Wow.
So it became a tool for me to see who I could feel good about interviewing, because I knew that they were really telling the truth. Now, there's a difference between people who are purposely lying and those who are, they don't understand. They think they're telling the truth, but they're not.
How can you tell if they're lying?
They'll say, well, usually you don't get it right away. You know, you have to listen. If somebody is saying something that is not true, you'll usually hear them say, "This is a lie," or "This is a fib."
You hear them say that out loud?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or they'll say, "This is I'm parroting this." I hear that, or I'm saying I don't really mean this. I mean, they basically tell you.
And they say this while they're lying right to your face, but you catch it backward.
Yeah, you have to play it backwards.
Wow.
The interesting thing with reverse speech, Sherry, think about this. As I'm speaking to you right now, I'm forming different words, and they make sounds. This part of my mind is taking those sounds, turning them around, making different words that are telling the truth, and they're communicating with the part of your mind that can hear it. Because in reverse, we talk back and forth to each other about what we're saying in reverse.
How accurate is this science?
Well, I can tell you that I think it's extremely accurate, but I know that I have heard things that people thought I was amazingly psychic, because I heard them say things about themselves that I would have no way of knowing. And when I repeated it back to them, I mean, they were almost like ready to just fall on their knees.
So they identify with their own words when you tell them back to them.
How do I identify?
No, they identify.
Well, I would, like, for instance, they would refer to somebody, and I would know the person's name without knowing the person.
Yeah.
So I would say, "Oh, you're talking about Bill so-and-so," and they go, "How did you know that?" And I said, "Well, I heard you in reverse. You said the person's name."
Well, you know what? I thought that was amazing, because I was listening to myself today in reverse. I was doing one of my audios that I did last year, and I'm talking about all these different people.
Yes.
I'm doing an audio on the kingdom of God, and meanwhile in the background I'm talking about this girl and that guy and him and her, and it was amazing. I was just laughing listening to it.
Well, you will learn a lot about yourself. I've probably reversed myself at least 100 times, and I don't always want to hear it.
I just, I find it fascinating, because I want to hear, okay, let's hear what my subconscious really thinks while I'm talking about this.
Yeah.
And
I can be saying, incredibly spiritual things about loving God, and in my reversals, I am not talking about that.
Well, you know what I found interesting, and I could never make it out because I'm not as adept at it yet. I kept hearing "I remember" throughout.
Oh.
I remember, and I go, "What is it? I remember," and I could never catch the rest of it. But I would hear that "I remember."
Well, I'm glad you've got the software. As a matter of fact, I encourage everybody to do this, because I don't want to be a spokesperson for reverse speech, and I don't want to be the spokesperson for what's going on. Unlike you, Sherry, I'll leave that job to you. I want people to get excited about this, to spend a little money to get the software, do tape recordings, get a set of headphones, and play with it and find out for themselves.
Well, I did give you a friendly warning this afternoon. When you get into the alien agenda, you are instantly under surveillance.
Oh,
it is a whole realm that they tightly watch.
Well, I have been doing TV on public access for...
So they've probably already moved into your neighborhood.
15 years now, and so, you know, I've worked with Bob Dean on Stargate. I've interviewed in conferences. I have done public speaking about the alien agenda. Of course, my take on it has changed.
Yeah, and that's why I said this woman's speaking my lingo.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us some of your findings?
Well, I found that, let's see, I'm going to try to do this in a logical sequence. What happened was, I've been hearing about these reptilian aliens for quite a while, I mean for a long time actually, but I had no idea how much a part of our reality they were. And then I started to hear, now in reverse, and I'll tell you right now, they will speak on recorders. They will speak.
They better not speak to me.
Yeah. They speak to me, and I have had battles with them, and I have, you know, we've had words. Believe me. And,
I'm sure I would too. I'm sure I would, without a doubt.
And actually, a man that I met back in the fall who has horrible abductions with these guys, he came to me because he would run tape recorders at night with voice activation because he was trying to show people that what was going on was real.
Yeah.
And, you know, with abductions, how can you prove anything?
Yeah.
You know, you're not bringing back a potted plant from the ship.
That's what people need for half of them to believe.
Right. Well, so he started to run tapes, and they would be voice activated. Well, he had all these sounds and voices and mechanical sounds and technology sounds on his tapes, as well as his own groaning and moaning. And so he came to Tucson to try to find people who might listen to them. I don't live in Tucson, but I live outside of Tucson, and he wound up hearing about me, that I listened to these tapes, and so he came to my house, and he stayed in the guest house for 4 months, and we had quite a time with these aliens, these reptilian aliens. They would come every night to torture this poor man. I've just never seen anything like it, and but I could hear them on the recordings, and because they were now here in my neighborhood, they began to talk back to me, and I confronted the main torturer, and I would, you know, we would have all kinds of different conversations about their agenda, what they were doing, you know, and at times they're forthcoming. Mostly I would reverse what they say, because if their mouths are moving, they're lying usually.
Yeah,
yeah. So I had to reverse everything always.
I've been trying to wake up the New Age movement forever, and you don't get anywhere.
Well, you know, it's it's tough. I was a New Age person for quite a long time, and until I realized how manipulated they are. But I think a lot of people on this planet are manipulated. So, you know, I now have I think a clearer idea of things, but it's just, well, I'll tell you what was said to me in reverse by this one particular reptilian. He said, "We've been underground for thousands of years. We are the reptoid race." And then he said, "We're in your supermarkets, your laundry rooms, your health clubs. We're everywhere."
Yeah.
You know, we intend to take over the earth. We want to microchip you and get you into confinement because you are our cattle. Then we will walk the earth, and you will be our food.
Yeah, and you know what? One term I see in the codes all the time is cattle herd.
Oh, I hear that all the time in reverse.
Cattle herd?
Well, I hear cattle.
Cattle.
And herd. Not always cattle herd, but cattle and herd.
Yeah.
And the biggest word I hear share all the time is the owl.
The owl of Satan.
I don't hear of Satan necessarily together.
Well, that's what it is. I asked the Lord when I was doing them, because I'm hearing things I didn't understand, and so I'm like, well, if I want to get certified, it's going to be for the Most High. And so I would ask him what these terms were over the weekend while I'm hearing them, and the owl is clearly, it's the same thing as the owl out in Bohemian Grove, the one they worship.
Yes.
And